Hello, everyone, and welcome to Justified Jewel Podcast. I am your host, and my name is Joann Cox. I'm a certified life coach, and I am a keynote speaker. I can be found on my website at www.justifieddjewel.com. And we have different subjects right here on Justified Jewel Podcast. But today we are in a series of independence and self reliance. I have a wonderful guest with me today, and she's going to give her take on that. Her name is Phyllis Williams. Phyllis, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, yes. So tell us a little bit of something about yourself before we dig into this topic.
Well, I was born and raised in Mississippi. I am a small town girl with big dreams and a big imagination. I like being creative in all things, whether it's helping people, doing a project, or creating something.
Okay, then that sounds great. And we all, well, not all of us have big dreams, but for those of us that do have big dreams, I truly believe that we get with the right group and we keep edifying each other so that we can keep on that path and not be out of our discipline or to not be focused. But today, I see you as an independent woman. Tell me, what is it like to be independent, whether it's finances, whether it's work, or whether it's your all around social life? What does independence look like to you?
One thing that independence looks like to me is freedom. I left my job 2 years ago. I do work part-time, but I just have the freedom to wake up at what time I prefer. I have the freedom to decide if I want to eat out, if I want to cook, who do I want to visit. Now, the biggest thing about independence for me is the freedom that comes with it, not being bogged down by answering to anyone or any organization.
Yes. And some of us just get so hooked in that and we can't get out of it. And not only that, I think it's one of those things where we're not having faith to understand that you can step out of that box and it's going to be okay. And if it's not the way you want it to look, you can always have different resources to bounce back. I love the word bounceability. So we can just fall down flat on our face, but somehow, some way, we will get back up and we will survive. Now,
Mhm.
there's a difference between being independent and self reliant. What does it mean to be self reliant?
When I think about independence, I think more about the mobility and day-to-day action. Self-reliance, I think more about things that require more than resources. I think about the inward being of being long-suffering, of being resilient when I hear self-reliant. Problem solving yourself. I do believe it's very important to have a network of people who can help you. And it's also good to stop with yourself first and say, okay, what are some of my options?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just being, I think when people think of independence, they think of also isolation and rejecting people, but that's not what it is. And
No.
self-reliance is being able to look within, start within, no matter the
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. And I want people that are viewing this to know sometimes when we say independent and we're talking to a female, we actually think about the person always being single. But I want you to give me your take on what does it look like from your friends or people that you've talked to? How are they independent or self-reliant or both? And they're in a relationship.
The first person that comes to my mind is my grandma. My grandma's name was Sarah Bell Crook. She had 15 children. My granddaddy was out of town quite a bit, doing different types of like road work and things like that, security. So he was gone a lot. He was in World War II. And
Mhm.
when I thought of independence, or when I think of an independent woman, it's not the lawyer woman who drives a BMW. I
Yeah.
think of my grandmother
Mhm.
who would hold down the fort when my granddaddy was gone. So being independent doesn't mean you're not interdependent either. So I think
Yes.
independence has had this negative connotation of being masculine. My grandma was still very feminine with her raising the kids, cooking, sewing, gardening, and holding down the fort. And I think that was independence and leadership skills.
Yes, yes. And I think we don't take a look at that. We see it, but we don't label it as being independent and self-reliant. And I'd like to give shout out to especially military spouses, not just females, but men. If the
Mhm.
woman is the one that is active duty, when they are on location or they are out, and sometimes it's 2 weeks and sometimes it's a year, maybe it's 6 months. I don't know if it's wartime or not. But that means you take care of the household, you take care of the children, you take care of everything that the family was at one time having to share those responsibilities. And I think that we need to think about that. Another thing I want to bring up is there are people that we look at as independent because they are high profilers, but in actuality, they are self reliant on so many other people.
Mhm.
So I'm going to give that to you to see if you can give some examples of a person that is got look like they have it all together, but they are so reliant on other people to get something done. What would that look like?
Yes, and we didn't really even practice for this, but I had started to go in that direction. And
Yeah.
I don't know anyone personally, but I can't think of a sitcom. And the sitcom I think of is Girlfriends, because I spoke earlier of the lawyer who drives a nice car that lives in a nice neighborhood, but
Yeah.
can't make decisions about their love life, about where they're going to travel, or they're codependent on other people, helping people out of obligation and hurting themselves. So you can have the check boxes, but still be not only lack independence, but you can become codependent on
That's
others.
so true. And that is what I want to bring up. And you can't say it enough. I'm going to talk about myself. Sometimes you don't even know that you are relying on someone on things that you have no idea what to do. And you're just busy and you just got it together and you're doing 101 things and you do them well.
Mhm.
And that is where the problem comes in because you're doing something so well that you don't realize the importance of knowing how to do something else. Now, I don't like changing tires. Okay. I don't want to change a tire. I'm going to call triple eight. Okay. But the thing is, you need to know how. You
Mhm.
need to know how to put air in your tire. You need to know. I've ran into people that everything is digital now, but I've ran into people that didn't know how to balance their checkbook.
Mhm.
Because the other person did it all the time.
Yes.
Or, I've heard of people saying, I don't go in the kitchen, I don't cook. Well, and it's just like, well, can you just cook a meal? Or do you know how to turn the stove on? And this
Mhm.
sounds so simple, but we need to get a grip as people to have knowledge of everything. And
Exactly.
now and I'm going to tell people that you and I have worked together on certain projects. And as a business person, you as a business person, you run into people as myself that maybe not tech savvy or don't know anything like that, or saying it's an age thing, or saying that I'd be better doing something else. What are the downfalls of running a business and not knowing how to do things?
There is a downfall that the first thing that comes to mind is speed. When I don't know how to do something, like you spoke of earlier, we live in a digital age. I can go on YouTube, there's Udemy, there's ChatGPT, there's Google. I can go to those resources, but it may take, if I wasn't familiar with Canva and I'm trying to make a flyer, it may take me 3 hours to do something, while someone who's more familiar with it will take less. So I do think with being independent, you're still not an island. Someone told me this in my 20s, and I thought about it today. No man is an island. We do have to work with other people, think about other people, get other people's point of view. So it is very limiting not knowing how to do it, but don't let that stop you from progressing after you do your research and see if this is something I can do, or do I need to outsource this?
And the key words that I picked up on is to do your homework, to do your research,
Yes.
and knowing how to run an office, because I've heard of so many people being taken advantage of, monetarily, because they let every business person in that office take care of everything. And
Mhm.
I remember Oprah saying back in the day when she did her talk show, oh, I have to sign the checks. I have to know, who's getting what and what is actually coming about. We need to have knowledge of, and
Yeah.
we need to periodically check back. If I am having 5 staff people and they are doing various jobs, I need to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, check back with them, have these meetings so that we know that we are relying on this person to get the job done. But at the same time, we would recognize what it's like if they're not doing the job properly and to take advantage of that person. So there's so many, this is such a broad topic, but I think that we would, the average person would narrow this down to a woman that stays at home and a woman that works. So this is what this is about, to broaden your horizon and to just say, what does it look like? Now, my question now is, if you have been codependent, reliant, not depending on yourself for anything as a young person, and then you had to, maybe it could be health reasons, something happened to that other person. It could be the other person actually passed away. It could be divorce. It could be just a number of things. My
Mhm.
question to you is, are they teachable after so many years?
I do think they're teachable, but they have to conquer the fear of doing something new. I think doing something new is difficult for most people, but especially if someone's been doing it for you. So that may intimidate you even more. And as you were speaking, I thought about my background is in special education, and I always try to stress to parents, you're not going to be here all the time. Do I think those kids can learn to cook and those young adults can learn to cook and do stuff? Yes. It may not be on the same scale. So I do believe the person is teachable once they conquer their own fear of not doing it as well as the person who did it for them. If I was married and something happened to my husband, I may cut the grass, but I may cut it with the electronic
Yeah,
lawnmower instead of being
yeah.
on the hot um, driving lawnmower. And I think
Mhm.
that's what people are going to have to do. They're going to have to adapt, overcome their fear, and see how it works best for them.
Mm-hmm. And I said lightly, someone passing away. When
Hmm.
that happens and the person is relying solely on the other person, it is having all of those duties to be done all at one time.
Yes, yes.
That is why it can be overwhelming. And
Hmm.
I like to say to people, as a coach, you need to know how to do these things so that as you said, the average person doesn't, they can be overwhelmed with one new task. But can
Yeah.
you imagine if they had to do 10 new tasks?
Mm.
Do you know where the policies are? Do you know where the will is? Do you know where, do you still have car payments? Do you know all of this? You know,
Yes.
and you're saying, oh, everything is kept in the file. Well, do you know where the file cabinet is?
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know, and here you are grieving. How can
Hmm.
you properly grieve when someone is asking you to pay some bills and you don't even know that you had a bill?
Yes, yes.
I call this just, taking care of yourself. Take care of
Hmm.
yourself so that it is a smooth transition when you're doing these things. And tell me more about how can a person maybe approach something if they've got multiple new things to do. What would you suggest that they do instead of just being, it would cause anxiety and stress and depression if you had 10 new things to do all in one month.
Yes, that is very true. I would say prioritize and outsource. So going back to the housewife thing, maybe you have to hire somebody to do it because that's just something you can't put on your list. And you maybe need to focus on, oh, we were working on repairing the roof, or we said we were going to do these repairs, and I need to have these repairs to have a safe house. So I would say prioritize,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the first two or three things if there's a list of 10 and see what you can outsource. And
Mhm.
if you can't outsource it professionally, see if people just help you. Independence is not just being on an island, it's still saying, I want to do this on my own, but for this particular area, I do need some help.
Exactly. And I don't know if you see when I look down, and I didn't say it on this particular podcast, but I usually suggest that you have pen and paper because there's something that you thought would be a very light topic, but now you're saying, I didn't think of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are so much paperwork when it comes to finances that you realize that maybe if you weren't on that account, that now
Mm-hmm.
you have to get some legal representation to prove that you're the next of kin.
Mm-hmm.
And why go through all that if you can have all of this in order? The
Mm-hmm.
big topic is finance, to be independent financially. And I know that a long time ago, they used to tell you to have 3 months income available.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now they're saying 6 months. So can you imagine the people that don't have 1 month? What would you
Mm-hmm.
suggest and what does it look like to be financially stable? We're not talking about wealthy or anything like that, but just so that no one is coming back to pick up your car. You know, what does it look like to just have a smooth running financial life?
I will say this too, going back to my grandparents, my granddad, he was very big on living within your means. My mom and dad also, but I remember him stressing that so much. So for me, I'm living within my means. I can't go to Dubai, but I can go to Destin, Florida. And if I have other things on my list, I'm not going to Destin, Florida. I may go to Atlanta up the street. So it's
Mhm.
not, especially in the see me world, look at me world. It's not about impressing other people. It's about living within your means to be financially independent. Because when I did leave my job, I took a significant pay cut for 8 months.
Mhm.
But there are people in my life who told me to save up. I did. So I did have enough money to cover me for those 6 months. But I couldn't eat out. Maybe I have to do my own hair. Maybe I have to do my own nails. I cut back in what is the essentials. I really like t Tiffany Budgetnista for some
Yeah.
financial advice. And I know other
Yes.
people know the staples,
Yes.
Dave Ramsey, but especially Tiffany Budgetnista and people like
Mhm.
that to help you with your finances.
Yeah, and I think what we need to do is keep it real.
Yes, yes,
Because when you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and you go down, you can't call on the Joneses to help you out of this financial rut. So I
yes.
want to say today with the high interest rate something, and if you know that you need to use a card and you can pay it off within the next 30 days, then do
Mhm.
so. But don't walk around with $500 in your pocket and then turn around and charge a blouse that costs $35. You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
and then you say you're going to pay it off, but the $35 item turns into 400 and 400 turns into 100. I mean, for 1,000. And before you know it, you're just paying minimum payments on it. So I am suggesting that if you're in this position right now, we are talking about self-reliant independence. Free yourself. Her word was freedom. It feels like freedom if you have to back down. It's okay to wear the same thing in 1 month, even 1 week. My thing is, if it's clean and it doesn't have holes in it, I am good to go. And if you say, I think I saw her with that on last week, I'm going to say, well, it's okay if you buy me another one. Because I am going to be clean and I am not going to have holes in my clothes. I
Mhm.
think we just need to live on a standard that we are really living below our means so that
Mhm.
we can save that money. If
Yeah.
you know that something has come up and it was not in, it's like a health crisis and you had to spend money, then know that now you are going to cut back. Phyllis used the term, she said that she would just cut back on not being able to eat or do this. I love to give gifts. And guess what I'll do? I will say, well, guess what? I'm not going to get massages and I'm not going to get my nails done because these are 3 months that I got. grandkids that I want to get something for, but I am saving just by not getting my nails done. You can pick and choose what you don't want to do, but you can't do it all. And for
Yeah.
all the people say that you can have it all, make sure you get their number so that when you get down, they say, can you help me out? So, with all of that being said, I don't want to talk too much further into a different topic or anything like that. I think we've learned a lot. I am going to summarize on some of the things that you said, and then you back me up and say, this is what I added as well. But the main part, as far as I'm concerned, is problem solving, knowing your reset resources, having those priorities done, and don't try to keep up with the Joneses, and to know who you are and what you stand for in your own ground. Now, can you add more to that summarization to help the people know what it's like to be independent and self-reliant?
I will just add to that independence. I said it a few times. It's not an island. It's still outsources. It's still communicating, but it's also freedom. Because when we think of islands, we think of relaxation. So that's what I would say with independence and self-reliance as it relates to um, being a single woman.
And what I hope you got out of this, independence and self-reliant has nothing to do with just a single woman. It can be a woman, a man, young people, coming up. Teach them to depend on themselves. Let them know what they are responsible for. Let them know the end results on how it looks in retirement. You can have all the fun in the world, but now you are 72 and you have to be the greeter at Walmart, not because you want to be, but because you need that income. And
Mhm.
understand that we have no idea what our health will take a turn in. So I say, make sure that you stay healthy, make sure that you are mentally stable, and we can do this by reading and being around healthy people. I am going to end this and let Phyllis tell you where you can find her and some of the things that she's got going on. Phyllis.
As I stated earlier, I love being creative. So if you go on my website, The Art of Me, THEE, Art of Me, I have journals, books, and what I'm focusing on now is storytelling. So there's a storytelling tab with my latest episodes of Front Porch Stories.
Yes, yes. And how can they get the front page stories? How can they get the front porch? Is
It's
there
on
a
YouTube.
link, or how
Mhm.
can they find that?
On theartofme.com, THEEART of me.com. It's a link that says storytelling. It's also on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and type in Front Porch
Okay.
Stories, it'll pop up also.
Okay, I wanted them to know that they can find it on YouTube as well. I was trying to push her into the YouTube. Do you have any books or anything out there quickly?
Yes, I do. My first book is The Art of Me, 30 Strategies to Discover Your Self-Worth. And I also have journals, reflective journals that are creative where you can maybe, one example, you make colored leaves of ranking your friendships and have cryptograms. So I do have journals and The Art of Me book. And I'm also a co-author of a Kwanzaa children books.
Okay. Again, I'd like to say thank you, Phyllis, for joining us today. You gave us some great insight, and this is Justified Jewel Podcast. Be with us next week. Thank you for being here, Phyllis.
Thank you.